happening at MMA next few days so that you don't miss them. And let me also warmly welcome all the viewers watching this program live in all our channels, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also our webinar. Uh, your presence is very, very important for us, and keep watching. You are the one which encourages us to bring you some outstanding events. One thing, we are missing you in person today because we are at the end of the program. We are also administering a test. Am I intelligent actually? Sometime you can take the test, you really prove how intelligent you are. Since you are safe at your own place, just listen. A lot of people here who are going to take the test, and I'm quite sure it will help you out to some extent. You have so much of confidence when you take the test, actually. Don't think you're going to appear in an exam where the marking is going to make your future. Just enjoy the test. I'm quite sure you'll do it very well. I see a lot of students very tense up. Not to worry. Something, not worry. Lovely. Let me tell you what's happening next few days, as I mentioned to you. On the 27th of July, that is the day after tomorrow, we have a power within the leadership legacy of Narendra Modi and leadership traits. We have again outstanding panel. Dr. Balasubramaniam, Prita Reddy, Apollo chairman, and Kamakodi, who is director of IT Madras, Rajiv Lochan, MD of Sundaram Finance. We also have with us Vaidya Subramaniam, who is the chancellor of Shastra University. Then on 10th of August, we have another event on unconquered horizon and southern India's resilience. It's again all about leadership. And we have again an outstanding panel along with Captain Ramachandran. We have Nandita Krishna. She is a historian and also founder of CP Arts Center. Air Marshal Mathishan, one of the finest fighter pilots, highly decorated Air Force officer. And we also have a serving Real Admiral Dingara. He has some flag of the commanding of entire southern states, is operated out of Chennai. So then on 12th of August, we have another interesting event which is very, very relevant to each one of us. Demographic dividend is boon or bane, because this is a subject we discuss so much. We say we have overtaken China, but is that really helping us? Because the population is so high, are we taking, the youth level is so high, are we taking advantage of that? A lot of research outcome has come. We've got 3 outstanding panel to come and discuss, especially one outcome which has been very clearly indicated is that while other countries, the women employment is almost 48, 50%, 51% China. In India, it's only 31%. That is what is hurting India in terms of demographic dividend. We must make all the women really think. I'm so happy to see so many girls sitting here, students, and you are the one who are going to contribute to take India demographic dividend really a big advantage for the nation. Come and listen to the experts. We have Mr. Ramasundaram, authority writes regularly on India, former IAS officer, and also Mr. Suresh Babu, he is the director of Madras Institute of Development Studies. We also have with us with Professor Mahalingam from BIM, who has done a lot of research and working very closely with the government of Tamil Nadu on democratic dividend and how to really take care of these issues. Then on 17th, we have a very high-profile seminar, Solving India's Solid Waste Crisis, Lessons from Madurai. Madurai, the Sundaram Climate Institute has set up a beautiful system and process which has really made Madurai clean. And to come and share the success story, we have an outstanding panel. Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan is a chairperson of Kriya University, is the chief guest. We got Prasad Modak. Prasad Modak is again managing director of Environmental Management Center from Pune. He is going to be delivering the keynote address. We have Nalini Shekhar, who is a CEO of Ansu Delta. Anjali Bansal, Anjali Bansal is the director of Nestle, Tata Power, and she's also founder of Avanta Capital. Then we also have with us Sri Krishna Balsan. We have got 3 outstanding startups who have done closely phenomenal work in this area. Som Narayanan is carbon momentum, then Vasudevan, and the professor of Tyagaraja Institute of Management. Sushil Vaishnav is the founder of KNP, RSS Green Energy Private Limited. We are getting a lot of startups to come and tell how you can make a circular economy. From the waste, you can make a fortune. So it will be a very, very interesting for many of you who are interested in doing something which is very, very relevant. And Ashwin Magalingam, faculty at IIT Madras, will be leading the conversation with them. Then again, 20th, the next and final series will be mental well-being. Another interesting subject. And we have lined up programs till about October. And I'll stop with this. Now coming to today's event, as I mentioned to you, unleashing the inner potential, cultivating mental resilience for well-being. The subject the whole presentation is going to happen, am I intelligent actually? This is a question everybody thinks, there's a lot of questions are asked, born intelligent or made intelligent. That's all something, but scientifically, today's team will really tell you how much intelligent and what really makes you and how you can enhance your intelligence. One of the way you can enhance your intelligence is keep reading actually. I've seen a lot of good readers, they are very intelligent. You're a voracious reader, your level and you have to keep feeding your brain actually. Like the way you feel hungry, the brain also gets hungry, and you have to. There are so many scientific things. All this to be stimulated. That all this needs a lot of power, so that every time the damage what happens due to various things can be replenished by so many things. And today's the three outstanding panel we have, we will come and share with you, so that this will be very, very important for us to do that. And I must thank also Mr. Dr. Ennapadam Krishnamoorthy, founder of Buddhi Clinic, for really agreeing to do this series with us, because this is very, very relevant, very important today, more topical, and people need to know, because people are going through, because there is a connection between the body and mind is cut actually. When that is not happening properly, then body doesn't listen to the mind doesn't listen to the body. Because here also I am telling, your mind is not listening. Your mind is talking to somebody else. Your mind is wanting to tell with somebody else. I'm not telling any particular person. I'm telling in general. Because your attention span is so poor, because your mind is wavering all over. Today, listen to the topic. You will know, especially two of you. Oh, can I proceed now? I want you to listen to these gentlemen today, so you get immensely beneficial. Okay, the idea is you have to have attention span. For that 35-40 minutes, you'll do a lot of good to us, because we are spending so much of time, energy, commitment, money to do this. And I want you to really pay attention to when I speak, it doesn't matter. But when the speaker speaks, it's very important for MMA, because he has come on our invitation. I know it's very, very, you can't get his appointment. You have to wait for almost 15 to 1 month to see him in his clinic. He's come and going to be speaking to us. And when he speaks, he'll go and tell MMA outside, what MMA? They are discussing something, I said something. I don't want that impression to go bad about MMA members who are watching this. You understand why I want you to pay attention when the speakers, so that's very, very important, because the brand MMA gets impacted very, very thing that impact us, and we get very, very, feel very sorry about it actually. That's the reason I want students, especially the thing, pay attention. No? That's why you are here, you are a member, you paid money, it's all return time for us. So, okay, enjoy the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the chief guest this evening, Mr. Krishnamoorthy. We also have Vivek, Misra, and Ayushi, Dilip. May I request you please take your place on the dais, all the three of you. All the viewers watching this program, as usual, if you have any questions, the number flash on the screen. Please share your questions, and the panelists really agreed to respond to all your questions. Let me have the privilege of introducing the distinguished panel for this evening. Mr. Krishnamoorthy is a renowned behavioral neurologist and neuropsychologist and founder of Buddhi Clinic and Neurokrish Foundation. He champions integrated brain and mind rehabilitation. He has held prominent roles in epilepsy, dementia, autism, and much more something relevant to your mind. And is also the president of the International Neuropsychiatric Association, and significantly contributed to the scientific literature, global lecture. He is an adjunct professor of Manipal University and a senior clinical advisor at Apollo Hospital. Very warm welcome to sir, present. Let me introduce Mr. Vivek Misra, the director, Neuroscience and Neurotechnology Buddhi Clinic. Vivek at MS is a director of Neuroscience and with over 12 years of experience. He specializes in non-invasive brain stimulation and precision medicine and neuropsychiatric conditions. Under founder of Brain Research Frontier, he bridges the industry and academia, focusing on neuroscience, mental health research. Vivek leads a state-of-the-art neuromodulation lab at Buddhi Clinic and collaborates with startups in innovative healthcare solutions. He is also an active science communicator and serves on editorial boards of prestigious publications. Vivek. Ayushi Dilip is the resident coordinator and clinical psychologist at Buddhi Clinic, with experience as a senior consultant in psychology at Amaha and clinical roles in Locus Mental Health at Fortis Healthcare. She specializes in neuropsychiatry and also allied sciences. Ayushi holds an MPhil in clinical psychology from Ranchi University and an MS in clinical psychology from Jain University. She combines her extensive training and experience to provide comprehensive mental health care. Welcome, Ayushi. Ladies and gentlemen, now I present you a team which is going to really bring in. At the end of the session, we also have a test. All of the papers have been handed over. They'll brief you what is all the test about, how to do it, and how to exceed in Excel. It's not a neat exam. Nobody can do what you want. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Captain. I'm very grateful to the President and Board of MMA for this opportunity, and it's wonderful to be here again. It's lovely to see many familiar faces in the audience and some new ones as well. So the question for us today is, how am I intelligent? Which itself, the theme or the topic tells you that you can be intelligent in different ways. And to set context, I'm going to start by telling you a little story about two of my classmates. One of them got several gold medals during the course of the MBBS. I was an average guy. I've been a chronic bank bettor all my life. I've never come to the front row. And but this guy was really bright. He had several gold medals. We all used to go to him for doubts, and he would clear all that. Not the most social of people, but very, very bright, extremely intelligent. The other guy was like me, an average Joe who hung around, did a lot of things in college, was involved in several activities, and so on. But just about managed to get through all his exams and not really he never sort of gave us an impression that he was going to sort of light any fire anywhere. Now, we had a reunion some years ago. After many years, as you do, you go for your Silver Jubilee reunion, your 30th reunion, whatever. And when we had our reunion, it was very, very interesting to see. The gold medalist, doing well, is a district medical officer somewhere in Karnataka. He has a nice job, but he's not setting any house on fire. And then this average Joe turns up in a 7 Series BMW with a flunky and various other people surrounding him. Now, in terms of just material success, okay, and of course, success is a very, very funny term, and we all can question what success is. But in terms of material success, who's doing well? The gold medalist or the average Joe? The average Joe is doing very well, just in terms of visible optic material success. Okay, I'm not going to sort of in any other way discuss success except this particular. The gold medalist, I would have expected him to be the professor and head of a medical college department, a known name, several books, etc. Because that was the caliber that he had demonstrated. Interestingly, that had not happened. He had got lost in the government service. I'm sure he is doing a very good job, a very nice guy, but at the end of the day, that potential of intelligence that we had all witnessed in college, that did not result in any conventional growth, conventional success, even in an academic way. It doesn't matter, it would have come in a Maruti 800, but if you're professor in head, you're teaching people, you're writing books, that's another kind of success. But we didn't see that kind of success which we expected in this person. So which brings us to ask this question: what makes people optimize and reach, because the whole thing is unleashing your inner potential, right? What kind of intelligence makes you achieve your potential? Is it the gold medal capability that's going to lead to you achieving your potential, or is it something else? Now let me tell you just a little bit more about this average Joe, right? Why does he drive a 7 Series BMW? Runs a huge hospital, has a huge waiting list of people wanting surgery from him. But he will shake hands, he will talk to everyone. He referred me a patient last week. He's in Kerala. Refers me a patient last week, follows up to ask, hey, how's that patient doing, man? Can you please tell me? He's a busy guy. He really shouldn't have time to be asking about an individual patient. He referred to one friend somewhere. But he does. If he sends a patient, he sends a note saying, I know this person, I want you to help this person. Please take care. Now, what is he demonstrating? What kind of intelligence is he demonstrating? emotional intelligence, and social intelligence, right? So, in a sense, the 7 series BMW doesn't come as a surprise because those kinds of intelligences are very important in life. Being able to connect with people, being able to make people feel connected, being able to interact with them, that pays a lot of dividends in life. So this is just one example of how just IQ, the way we conventionally assess a person's capacity, especially within the educational framework, how that may not be very relevant the moment you step out of that educational institution's framework and you start working, you start meeting people in society, how other things start to matter. I want to tell you another story. And I promise not to tell too many stories. Now, this is a nephew of mine who's dyslexic. Has great trouble getting through each year of class. We are always worrying about this kid, how he will pass, how he's going to get to the next level. Needs a lot of support, not of guidance. But that's only in school. Okay, his mom was traveling to Chennai. She was on a flight somewhere. Typical of her, she expected to be picked up, but never told any of us which flight she was taking. So I call this kid in a great worry, and I tell him, hey, tell me which flight your mom's on. He not only told me which flight she was on, that it had taken off, and he was tracking its location. He knew where it was, and she will land at X time. ETA is this. Okay, now tell me, is this kid going to do well in life or not? He probably is going to do supremely well in life because he's extremely organized and he knows what it is to be responsible at age 16. Okay? So the point I'm trying to make, therefore, is that, and I think our team will emphasize this to you, that intelligence is different things. And intelligence needs to be understood very differently from the way that we have been usually trained to understand it. And therefore the question, how am I intelligent? So in today's talk, we'll talk a bit about the neuroscience of intelligence, Vivek. We'll talk about how multiple intelligences exist. This is the concept of Howard Gardner from Harvard University. We'll talk about how multiple intelligences exist and how to think about your own intelligence. We're going to get you to take a multiple intelligences test so that you become aware of what your own multiple intelligences are. And the discussion, we hope to address these through brainstorming and questions. So we're going to leave enough time to do that. So we have 2 short presentations, and I'm going to start by asking Vivek to give his first presentation. Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. So, when we talk about the intelligence in the brain, so I came from totally hardcore hardware side of the intelligence, which is the hardware we have in our skull, the brain. So, what is intelligence? Everyone say, as Dr. Krishnamoorthy has said, there are social intelligence, emotional intelligence, but what is it? Intelligence are actually. So intelligence is the ability to learn, understand and apply knowledge. And the intelligence is different from the cognition, that how well I can perceive. So if somebody pinprick me and I say, oh yeah, I perceive the pain. Can we call it as a pain intelligence that I can perceive the pain? No. It is what understanding or the education I get. So if there is a hot pan I touch, it's going to burn me. So that is the intelligence. If there is a pointed object I touch, it's going to bleed. See, that is intelligence. And there are different types of intelligence. We talk about analytical, creative, practical, and emotional. But are there more types? So that we have to wait for the Ayushi's presentation. But there are the legendary psychologist Spearman. He projected there is two factors. It's a two-factor theory. It's very simple. There is a denominator which he called the G factor, as we look in the diagram, that have an influence all over all our other activities, what we can do, which can be either mechanical, which means how we move, spatial, how we navigate, numerical, how we calculate, and verbal, how we speak over the period of time. So there is some influence, but the another factor is the S factor. Now S factor is also known as the specialist factor or specific abilities. Now not everyone is having all the S factor in all the domains. So some people are good in numerical and mechanical but not verbal. Some people are good at verbal and more of a spatial. So where there is a combination lies, that particular domain becomes the guiding factor for that person exhibiting a certain behavior. And it helps in problem solving, decision making, and adapting to new situations. Now we have this hardware and we say every brain is same according to the structure, that if you open every brain looks like same. But there are different brain areas responsible for different intelligence or the domains. For example, we talk about our frontal lobe. It is more involved in our social cognition. Parietal lobe integrates the information coming from the different area. So it's one of the examples when we look, and if I say that if we close our eyes and we touch a certain object, we can able to find out whether it's a silk or a cotton without seeing. So where this intelligence comes from? So the parietal lobe recollects from our past memories. Okay, previously we have touched this. This is how it feels like, and we are integrating our senses as well as our memory recollection. Cerebellum, it performs some cognitive function and attention. Brainstem, warning system, set alarm. For example, when we go for a running and suddenly we say, no, we should stop now. Where that intelligence comes from? It comes from the brainstem, that it triggers the certain chemicals in our body, in our brain, and say, okay, let's stop. We should not push our body beyond this, it will damage. So again, it is also comes part of our intelligence. So if we take one of the brightest person who we thought is the most intelligent, Einstein's brain. Is all our brain different or same? Now, Einstein's brain is actually lighter, it weighs lesser, on an average 1230 grams, where an average human brain is weigh about 1400 grams. So if we just say, oh, then the brain weighs lesser, it should be like, he should be less intelligent than us. But we also say it's even the cerebral cortex is thinner. We always say, more grey matter, we are more intellectual. Here it is less grey matter, weighing less, but one of the property of the brain, that the density of neurons. So even though his cortex is thinner, the density of neurons were more, which means he has packed more neurons into small scale and it's connected well. So then when the brain differs, what comes? The great debate, whether it's a nature versus nurture. And the fact is, genetics contribute about 50% of our intelligence, with numerous genes involved. It is not we have only one gene which we can modify and we become intelligent. No, there are several genes which are involved in producing intelligence. When I say 50%, the another 50% is from the environment, that the early childhood experiences, education and social interaction plays a crucial role. Now, what is the epigenetics is how the environment surrounds me, and there are two types. One is the environment, what we are talking about, the outside our brain, and then there is something which is inside our brain. So their internal environment and the external environment, and how these environment can influence a gene expression, how the gene is firing, how they get activated related to intelligence. So this is like one of the very interesting study. Say a monozygotic twins, which are the maternal twins, and the same individual, when they take an intelligence test, it is like same person taking the test twice. If we just look the first two numbers, it's almost the same. Then we look dizygotic, which are fraternal twins. So they only share 50% of the DNA, and the siblings, they also share the 50% of the DNA, because and there is a huge gap between, like, roughly 0.20. So if one is the perfect exact same answers, there is a 62 and 41, which means there are the adoptive parents, sorry, the environment appears to have a substantial impact on their intelligence, where they share the same genes. Now, if we look, siblings rear apart 0.24%. It's a quite significant drop. So now, though these siblings which are reared together, they are at 41% same, whereas the siblings who reared apart are just 24% same. So we know, though they have the same genetic composition, it is the environment which have influenced. Now, adoptive parents and child, they are together. Well, there is no difference in their, it is just 16% same, which means the parents have little association with the IQ of their adopted children. So again, coming back, there is genes which play part. And unrelated children reared together, which shares zero DNA, is still they are 0.25. Is still they are higher than the adopted parents and child, and almost same as siblings raised apart. So you see that the environment do play a very significant role in changing our brain and how it works. But then we talk about changing our brain. What does this change means? So again, coming back from the tractography, so there are neural networks. Interconnected neurons process information. No single neuron can process information. We have 86 billion neurons in our brain. Those 86 billion neurons, when fired together, process information. Higher intelligence is linked to more efficient and flexible neuroconnections. And synaptic plasticity, where they are linked together, they are more efficient, and the brain ability to strengthen or weaken neural connections. And this neural connection, what we talk, is guided by the gene expression, and the gene expression can be influenced by our environment. So now we see there is a link between how we express ourselves today, even in this room, or how we are standing and talking. It is because our environment, our brain is trained in a way. But when we say become more efficient, how we can become? We can't change our structure, because structure, we say even Einstein have a less weighing brain. So how we can do it? How we can make it efficient? And the efficient comes mental exercises, puzzle, reading, problem solving activities. As the captain is saying, readers are more smart. So, there are, the good research. So like for each topic, there are lots of research, but, in the paucity of time, we will just say reading and problem solving, especially the Rubik Cube. We had one of the videos from Buddhi clinic that the Rubik Cube does help improving our cognition. Physical health, regular exercise, healthy diet and adequate sleep. And continuously acquiring new knowledge and experience throughout. But there are more methods. For example, using our brain to perform a task in a very limited and focused attention. For example, a QEEG guided neurofeedback, where if you have seen the movie Matrix, where everything is moved with the brain, the QEEG guided neurofeedback does the same. The person don't have to move the hand to play a game. The wires are being placed, you see over there, and all the animation will be moving. The point you get distracted, the animation stops. So you are playing a game with just your brain, and if you can play a game, it can be a focus, it can be attention, anxiety, behavioral, and you are learning that behavior, which in a longer term change our brain in turn. But then we say, can we measure this efficiency? You know, in manufacturing, you know, we can measure efficiency. There is this Six Sigma and all those things comes. But how we can measure efficiency in the brain? As Kalyan puts, that synchronicity. You know, we say, you know, occurrence of meaningful coincidences that seems to have no cause. That is a coincidence or a casual. That unity is diversity. Today I walked 5 kilometers in the morning, I feel very fresh. I took a very good business decision. Maybe I would have taken without even walking. It's just synchronicity. But with new advances, we can look that doing reading, exercising, meditation, yoga, focusing on our intellect, feeding the brain what it wants. So over here, if we see, there are more delta. The person feels sleepy. And the red are the highly abnormal, normal and abnormally low, like how our brain is firing. And when we do these activities, and you see, it is on the right hand side that those areas are tends to become more normal. And it's just the indication what we can record in today's labs. So I'll just leave with a thought that when we are in 21st century and like, you know, we say we can biohack our brain and how we can enhance or work on those. So do we just need a thinking hat? Or it is a thinking cap versus a thinking zap. So there are the devices of non-invasive brain stimulation. Well, because I work from the hardware side of the brain, and there are ways where we can make the brain more efficient. And this is the future. Using the non-TDCS, which is a transcranial direct current stimulation. And it's not only make you smarter, but it's also make you devise, like, you know, write more poems, the verb generation. There are augmenting the ideation fluency, how best I can speak in a public forum, how creative I can become. And there are studies which I found that one of the courses, Bachelor of Fine Arts in UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, getting into that course is much tougher than getting into the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So those students from there are already highly gifted, use the TDCS for 2 days, and their creativity jumps by 4.8% in just 2 days. And that's the future what we are looking for. So this is the hardware, but I will call Ayushi to talk about the different intelligences. And I will say thank you for your attention.
Am I audible? Yeah. So thank you, Vivek, for that very quick whistle-stop tour of the brain and intelligence. Before Ayushi starts, I want to tell you a little story based on his plasticity point. So if you've been to London, you have seen the black cabs, the hansom cabs, HANSOM cabs that they are called. Now they're very expensive. They're about 50,000 pounds to buy. And they have existed for centuries, literally. Only thing they are now motorized and they're made only by one company for the last several years. Now the hansom cab, to drive it, you need to get a very special license. And in the days before Google Maps, in order to get that license, you have to memorize the London map in your heads. So the test will go, for example, how will you go from Smith Street in W6 to, say, German Street in N1? And you should know in your head every one-way, every roundabout, every traffic light, etc., how you're going to go from here to here. You are expected to memorize this. And that act of memorization was called the knowledge. So if you wanted to be a London cabbie driving a hansom cab, you had to undergo this 2-year knowledge. So not only you have to pay 50,000 pounds to buy the cab, you have to undergo this 2-year test called the knowledge. So the university where I trained, University College London, our Institute of Cognitive Neuroscience, did a very interesting study where they measured the size of the part of your brain that is responsible for memory before people entered this 2-year training, the knowledge. And then they measured it serially on using MRI until you completed the knowledge. And guess what? the hippocampus actually grew significantly in size. Okay. So why I'm telling you the story is to say that what group captain said is absolutely right, that it's very good to read, it's very good to learn. And I think what Vivek is trying to say is that the brain really is also a use it or lose it organ. The more you employ your brain, the more you actually will increase those connections that he's talking about. So that's just the neuroscience of it. There is proof that intelligence is not just genetic and endowed, it is environmental, and it's also partly acquired through repeated practice. So this is something I want everyone to just keep in mind. Ayushi.
Hi, good evening everyone. It's amazing to be here again, but before I start the presentation, I'd request you all to, I hope everyone's gotten the MI checklist. I request you all to fill it. I hope everyone knows how to do it. Yes, sir. Can someone please help, sir?
Test in the circle.
I kindly request you all to fill it up and hand it over to the team with your name on it, so when you leave the center, you can take it with you with the scores and the results. I request Tamina to take the filled sheets from participants who finished the test.
Just a request, the sooner you finish, the easier it is for her, because we have several sheets to score. So it will be good if we have it sooner from you rather than later. Anyone, if you don't have a sheet, please put your hands up. The team will come and give you one. Few hands are up. Vaidya, make sure that everyone gets the sheet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the test. First of all, it can be intimidating when you have to answer so many things about yourself. But I'm going to talk about multiple intelligence, something that we don't hear about on a day-to-day basis, and its implications for life. So first of all, what is multiple intelligence? Like Sir said, Harvard professor Howard Gardner, he kind of came up with this hypothesis that intelligence actually spreads beyond traditional metric of an IQ score or a generic IQ test. A person is not intelligent only logically or if they have good abstract reasoning skills, but all of us can have different types of intelligence in varying degrees. It's an idea that intelligence is not a single unified entity, but a distinct or a set of distinct intellectual competencies. So basically, if you think about it in this perspective, it's a biopsychological potential to process information in a way that can activate a person's abilities in their cultural setting to solve problems in the way that's most adaptable to their environment and brings the most value to the cultural setting or the environment that they are in. So why is understanding multiple intelligence important? I'll come to the types of multiple intelligence, but I will tell you why it is important. First of all, if we know that there are certain aspects of ourselves that we're good at, and there are certain aspects that we're slightly weaker at, there is an opportunity for us to know ourselves better, our competencies better, and use them in our environment in a more significant manner. We can choose appropriate careers, educational fields, and there's more room for inclusivity in terms of a learning environment. In terms of schools, there can be an encouragement of development in terms of creativity and problem-solving skills. Educators can provide children with opportunities to express themselves in different ways, not just in paper pencil format or numerical format. Analysis of one's strengths and weaknesses can help individuals help each other to build different types of intellectual abilities. Like Sir said, you learn from your environment and you can build these aspects or intellectual abilities over the period of time. These are not watertight compartments, they spill into each other. And the more you learn to develop certain skills, the better you become at it. One more aspect is that understanding intelligence or types of intelligence of a person, what a person is good at or what a person is not so good at, allows for personalized learning approaches. So for example, if a child is able to learn better when they watch a YouTube video, why should we force them to study, using a paper pencil method? If a child is great at sport, why shouldn't we optimize that intelligence and force them to do something that they find it extremely difficult to do? So it really encourages, understanding multiple intelligence really encourages personalized learning and also tailor making, educational formats and, delivering education in general. Also, it reduces the focus on standardized testing. Standardized testings, it's great, obviously, but it gives you a very generic metric of what you're good at and how much you're good at. It doesn't tell you your strengths and it doesn't tell you your weaknesses. It may tell you that, hey, you fall in the average range or below average range or above average range. But every individual sitting in this room has some speciality, something that they are extremely good at. And that's something we need to tap into. And lastly, it does foster a positive self-image. So for example, you took an intelligence test and I told you, you have below average intelligence. Would it foster or increase your self-image or reduce it? Reduce it. But if I told you, hey, you have an overall IQ which seems to be below average, but you know what, you have fantastic naturalistic skills or you have fantastic interpersonal skills, how would you feel about it? You'll feel so much more motivated to enhance these skills that you have and use them on a daily basis. So, for the purpose of ease, Gardner has divided intelligence into 8 broad categories, and as displayed on the screen, they are naturalistic, bodily kinesthetic, musical, logical, mathematical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, linguistic, and spatial. Now, it's not necessary that you'd be good at one and really bad at another. All of us have certain skills which we are really good at, which means that we will have some of the other intellectual factors that may kind of come behind the top 1 or 2 intellectual skills that we have. So the intelligence test you just took, the MI scale or the MI checklist that you just took will help you understand what are your top 4 or 5 intellectual abilities and what are the aspects that you are not so good at and which you can work on in the future. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about general intellectual quotient and what we do to assess it. So IQ basically stands for intelligence quotient, and IQ tests are tools that measure intellectual ability and potential. So they're designed basically to reflect a wide range of cognitive skills, not particular skills. So if you take an IQ test, you will know on a average how you're able to reason, use your logic, and solve problems. But in which method, you may not know using a IQ test. Certain tests that are used in clinical setting are WISC, WAIS, Wechsler's Adult Intelligence Scale, Binet-Kamat test, which is widely used in India. And for kids below the age of 5, we use the Bailey scale of infant development. Like you see, there are various domains in these tests as well. Broadly, they're either performance tests or verbal tests, and there are various ways in which we measure someone's performance or verbal abilities. So let's take a 1-minute IQ test and see how you perform. Are we ready? Okay, I want you all to write your answers down somewhere, so there's no cheating. We'll take another 10 seconds. Right. How many of you all got it right? Okay, I didn't get it right in the first go, so I agree. What kind of intelligence do you think answering a question like this would take? What do you need to be good at? Just two things. Observation, yes. Logical reasoning, rightly said by Sir. And there's one more, which may be surprising, but one more aspect of intelligence which is extremely important if you need to answer a question like this. Linguistic. If you don't know the language and if you don't know how to read between words, you will never be able to answer a question like this. So it's not just important for you to have logical reasoning, but you need to be able to understand language well, comprehend language well, and be able to solve a problem which is linguistically tied together. Another aspect of intelligence which most of us forget or neglect is emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. Like Sir rightly said, that your interpersonal or your emotional social intelligence takes you a long way, may not in your academics, but in your social life. So EQ, also referred as in emotional intelligence, is the ability for you to understand, manage, use your own emotions in a positive way, and it also involves being able to understand other people's feelings and use those feelings to communicate and relate to others. So there are certain important components that we look into when we say, oh, this person may be really high on emotional intelligence or may have an high EQ. Say, for example, if the person is extremely empathetic and they're able to take someone's perspective easily, they're very self-aware of their own reactions, their own emotions, the things that they get triggered by, or they're very capable of regulating their emotions, able to respond and not react, or they have very healthy ways of communicating with their environment about their emotions, and take feedback from the environment as well, and make decisions by looking at people's perspective. All of it together is a sign of emotional intelligence, and it definitely takes you one notch higher in your ability to deal with the environment, regardless of what your IQ scores are. So before I finish, I would say that there are certain populations that have special kind of intelligence. Like you see on the NPC curve, that at the fringe, you will find there are only 0.01% people in the world who are profoundly gifted. And they have their own peculiarities. But like mentioned before, there are multiple reasons to it. It could be genetic, it could be the structure of their brain, it could be the environment that they grew up in. But there are very, very few people who are profoundly gifted. And then there are people who are gifted, a little bit more able. And some who have high average intelligence. So it's distributed in such a way that most of us fall in the average category if you take an IQ test. But there is a population called the neurodivergence. This includes anything from an ADHD or a child who is on the autism spectrum. So they may not have special intelligence, but they may have features of their condition that enhance their performance or enhance their ability to adapt in their environment. On the autism spectrum, we have a group called the Simon syndrome. This is a rare condition wherein a person with generally less than normal intelligence or sometimes even severely impaired or limited emotional range have prodigious intellectual gifts in a specific area. So if you take a child and you take an IQ assessment, a savant kid, and you take an IQ assessment, they may fall under below average category, but they may have excellent verbal skills that they may write poetries, or they may write amazing essays that even an adult can't write. So there are certain kids who are able to perform certain skills better, and just identifying that and not like bracketing them into low IQ range or bracketing them into less intelligent really helps with their growth, really helps them be integrated in the society as a whole. Also helps, their parents treat them better, or their parents to help them navigate the world better for them. Giftedness is an innate ability to both detect and comprehend the world in a complex way that differs significantly from age-expected norms. Sometimes they may, skip 2-3 classes and go ahead, but we have to remember that even gifted children have certain peculiarities. They may have certain skills that they have garnered over a period of time, and that's what's making them more adaptable than just their genetic makeup or just their structural anatomy. So how to make the most of your intellectual ability using multiple intelligence? Now let's say that you have your first top 3 ranks are bodily kinesthetic, linguistic, and interpersonal skills. What do? We choose areas of life or careers or interactions that help us display these skills and help us, increase these skills in certain ways. So the neurons that fire together wire together. So the more you use these skills that you already have, the better you become at it. And say you have lowest 3, say your interpersonal skills are very bad, or your logical mathematics skills are not that great. What do we do about it? Same procedure. We just need to pick up skills from people around us and just try to learn to be marginally good at it. We don't have to be excellent at everything, but just understanding that we may not be great at everything, but we can always learn to develop these skills really takes us a long way when it comes to interacting with our environment. So yeah, with that, thank you very much.
Before I open for questions, I'll tell you another little story. There's a young chap who's worked with us from the time he was about 9 years old. He's now about 18. And in his case, this has become so relevant. That's why I'm telling you the story. He has both ADHD and dyslexia. He's worked with Vivek with brain stimulation and other techniques like that. He's worked with our psychology team over the years. And we are talking about a 9-year story. He was in school when he started with us. He's just got into college and finished his first year of college. Now, why this is so important is what characterized that child for us was, he was a problem child in school. He was always getting into trouble because of his ADHD. He wasn't very good in his studies, both ADHD and dyslexia. So he was always in trouble with his studies as well. But when he came into clinic, he's the one, as soon as he walks in, he's one of the few people, he'll come in and say, "Hi doc, how are you?" So he was concerned to meet and greet people spontaneously and well. And if he noticed something, like you're wearing something different today, or your car has changed, he'll come and tell you that. So you seem to have changed your car. What made you buy this car? So extremely sociable child seeking human interaction. Now, his parents are very wise. They realize, therefore, that conventional education may not be very good. They put him into an internship in a cafe. And this is when he finished school, and he was doing a cafe internship. Few days later, 2-3 weeks later, he found they were giving him a very hard time in the cafe. The chef especially would give him a very, very hard time. And he'll come out crying. So his father said, look, why do you want to struggle? It's okay. Let's just drop it. And this kid said, no, I need to overcome this. I need to learn to not annoy those people. And he powered his way through that. He white-knuckled his way through that cafe internship. Now he's doing a course in hotel management. Okay. Now the point I'm trying to make, they've chosen well for him because his social skills are extremely good. His emotional skills are extremely good. He is not going to be the brightest spot on the planet when it comes to reading and assimilating information. And this is the point I want to make. How you're intelligent is going to make a huge difference to how you unleash your potential, which is the theme of our. And that's why the multiple intelligences, proposition is so important. Understanding how people are intelligent and persuading them to go into those, professions or those kind of vocations rather than things which are very, very different from what they are going to be good at. Okay. So I'm going to take the first 3 questions that are coming online. And I'll let both Ayushi and Vivek, and if they want me to help, I'll help. How can schools better support the development of diverse intelligences at a young age? What initiative could be important at workplace to develop, support development? Kailash from Bangalore. You want to answer that?
I'll do the school bit and then Sir can talk about workplace. I think with schools, integrating different types of learning styles is very important. Not just using the paper pencil method, but to use all the other sensations that we have, like auditory, tactile, or just being able to help the child solve problems creatively and give room to children to solve problems in a creative manner really helps them unleash their potential and explore what capabilities they have. So I think a flexibility in terms of education and how children prefer to learn or prefer to express themselves is very, very important to begin with.
Thank you. Vivek, do you want to read your question and answer it? I've sort of distributed it now. Those are yours.
So, one of the first question was like, what's the impact do neurological disorders have on intelligence and how they can be managed? So, going by the definition of the neurological disorders, if we just look the DSM criteria of the psychiatric, how the psychiatric illness has been defined. So there are major cognitive disorder and the minor cognitive disorders. And when a person is, though most of those disorders are in the geriatric population, which may impair their intelligence, so the intelligence is not to be assessed. Whereas in the young adults, even when there are people suffering from a long-standing depression, what most of the people do see is a brain fog where they are unable to make a clear decision. In fact, in one of the intelligences, so if we are now looking just the intelligence, there are the different criteria, what we called as the intellectual disability, where previously it was known as the mental retardation, though it is very stigmatizing. So now the word is being the intellectual disability. So we said, so those people who have underwent a formal intelligence testing, what Ayushi mentioned, like the WIS and WISC. So obviously those disorders do impact on the intelligence per se, but there are disorders which like the lower intelligence is a byproduct of it, not this.
So again, I think what Ayushi was trying to emphasize, that even on a traditional test, if you don't score very well, you may actually have life intelligences that can be put to very good use, like the example I just gave you. So I think it's very important not just to think about the traditional test or about a diagnosis. It's very important to also think about, in a practical way, how is this person? I'm going to request you to put your hand up if you have a question from the floor so that the mics can get to you while we take one more question online.
So the question,
Please go.
the question is, can you share some success stories where recognizing and nurturing multiple intelligence led to significant life improvements?
Sure. So I think we told you sort of a couple of success stories already of people in whom we've helped them identify, their intelligence. So we've got this young chap who's got a type of brain tumor which keeps recurring. It's a developmental brain tumor. So he's gone through 3 brain surgeries till now. Okay, he's also a high-functioning autistic person, which means that he finds it very difficult, or he doesn't bother to socially engage with you at all. Okay, but his parents recognized that he has a tremendous gift for writing, and he has fantastic, what we call intrapersonal intelligence, an understanding of himself and his thought process. Okay, so here is a chap, he will not even make eye contact with you or talk to you 2 sentences fully if you meet him. He's published 3 novels now, which are published by regular publishers, not self-published. Okay, he's published 3 novels, or books, not novels actually. And one of them is like a thought of the day book, where it's coffee with myself type of book. Each page is a thought. And it is unbelievable the kind of philosophical insights this person is having. If you read, you'll be blown away if you read each page that he's written. And I'm trying to say, therefore, that his expression is through linguistic. He uses language to express himself, not the spoken language, not human interaction, but writing. And I have another young autistic child who can barely leave her room. If you read her blog spot, you will be blown away with the kind of thoughts and ideas that she has. So the point is, therefore, that all of us have potential, and understanding the type of intelligence we have is going to lead to improvement. And I'll say one other thing. I think this is very important. I can write about 4,000 words a day. But that did not start today. I've written for years. So I'm trying to say it's practice, right? It's years and years of practice of writing that leads to my being able to just write. If you leave me alone, I can complete 4,000 words in a day. I'm very confident. Okay, if it's a topic that I'm passionate about. But that's not just knowledge, it is practice. Okay, it's not just a particular type of intelligence, it's practice. So practice is also extremely important. And, so one needs to keep this in mind. From the floor.
Happy evening to all of you. My name is Srinivas Raghavan from Happy Mentor. One of my friends, whom I know for about 54 years, was very ordinary in studies, in schools, and he also did CA along with me. He took several attempts to pass CA, but recently retired as an executive director from a leading bank. And one of the things I used to say, he used to say, tell me, and which I used to quote in every program of mine, it's called approximately understand. Don't try to understand perfectly. Approximately understand and act. What is that ability called? I'd like to ask Ayushi, is there any intelligence behind this particular aspect?
I really don't know the term for it, but I think it's trying to assimilate the information that you have in your environment in a holistic manner and not be too rigid or stuck upon an aspect of it. So when I look at things in a holistic manner, I'm able to analyze multiple aspects of the environment, and I'm able to execute based on the environment holistically. But when I fixate on a part of it, I lose out on everything that surrounds it. So maybe that's probably what he's been doing.
If I can share a little bit of personal experience there. I think it's a connecting the dots ability And as she said, people who hyper focus on things, and very intelligent people often do that. Very intelligent people often do that because they they can read every detail and they can remember every detail, right? People who are average sometimes skip over details, but learn how to connect the dots. Just the 3 to 4 things that matter. And I think that might explain your friend's success because he probably is a good problem solver because that's why you become an executive director of a large bank. And you're able to connect the 4 dots that matter in that conversation and give an answer rather than get hyper focused on any particular detail. So I suspect that that contributes. I'll let Vivek read and answer a question.
So this question from Agalya Chennai, how does stress and mental health impact one's cognitive ability and intelligence? Well, very much. There is just, if I take 2 examples, we see a very elite football players. Right now the UEFA Cup is going on. And the point they strike the ball and they just hold their head before they even see where the ball went because they realize it's the wrong place. In our day-to-day life, when that auto-locking door, the point you leave the key inside and the point you closed, and within 10 seconds you realize that, oh, I left the key inside. And well, that's the impact of sleep deprivation, stress, and these cognitive diffusion. But when we are talking about these small errors is coming from the stress and mental health conditions. Just one of the conditions is the insomnia or the hypersomnias. So yes, stress and mental health does impact the cognitive ability and intelligence. But again, it is not when we talk about the brain process that your intelligence is permanently low. Once you improve, once you are getting more sleep, you are doing regular physical activity, you are eating, you will see that those transient dips in intelligence goes back to the normal levels. So yeah.
Just to add to that, one of the most common presentations to my clinic is people coming in and saying, Doc, I've become very forgetful. I think I'm getting dementia. And these are sort of people doing very well in their life and careers and have no business getting demented. And if you ask them a little more detail, they are multitasking, they are very stressed, and they fail to lay down a memory of something that they have done, and then they later don't realize that, they think they've forgotten that thing. Whereas in fact, they did not pay attention enough to lay that memory down. So this typically happens, for example, when you park your car. Okay, your mind is busy, you go park it somewhere, you don't pay attention to where you're parking it, say in a mall, right? And then you're all at sea trying to find out which level you parked it, where you parked it, and you can't find your car. Right? And this is all to do with not that you're getting dementia, you're sort of losing your memory. It's got to do with you didn't pay attention. Your mind was too preoccupied at that time. So this stress does that to you.
This question says, what role does emotional intelligence play in overall mental well-being? I think emotional intelligence plays the most important role. Because you may be in whichever position in your life, if you know how to maintain good interpersonal relationships, how to communicate with the people around you, and how to kind of manage your own emotions, life becomes very, very easy. So before even understanding how intelligent or logically reasonable or linguistically amazing you are, understanding what my emotional quotient is, and how my responding to my environment will definitely increase mental well-being once you start working on it. Additionally, we don't have to be extremely intelligent to be successful, but we have to be amazing communicators and social beings to be successful. So definitely enhancing your emotional quotient and working on it will increase your social, financial, and mental well-being.
Thank you. From the floor.
Happy evening, everyone. My question is with respect to the sheets which we have filled on the multiple intelligence tally sheet. There are a lot of preferences which we had mentioned, and I have circled around and counted the circle. If there is any benchmark for that circle, out of 10 kind of thing, or it's okay. No, the relevant is, can we change by practice and preferences, can we change that?
Okay, so the question is, I have a certain rating today. Can my rating change?
Yes.
Absolutely. So that's called aptitude. Aptitude is what are you naturally endowed with as a human being, and can you through learning and practice change what you're naturally endowed with? And the answer is absolutely yes. Of course, you'll do it better when you're young than when as you get older. You look young, so I'm sure you'll be able to make the changes. So I think we're coming to the end of our time. I'm sorry to those who questions that have not been answered, but please feel free to write to care@buddhiclinic.com, care@buddhiclinic.com. We'll be very happy to answer questions to you on email. No problem at all. I'd like to, there are a couple of questions here which I'll answer as I finish. One of the things that Howard Gardner said was, therefore, it's not whether you're intelligent, it is how you're intelligent. So I think it's very important for all of us to figure out how we are intelligent. Okay? And one of the reasons why sometimes people discover themselves really in middle age is this, that they discover by then, going through the ups and downs of life, they discover how they are intelligent and what they can do in order to be a good contributor in society and feel validated. So it's never too late to discover how you're intelligent. It's very important to know how you're intelligent. I think certainly 20, 30 years ago, when people like me were growing up, the number of options were very few. And I think it's great for the young people today that you can pretty much want to be anything you want to be, right? So, I mean, now if my 19-year-old now tells me I want to be a YouTuber, I don't turn a hair because I know there are YouTubers who are doing very, very well. Right? If I told my father I want to be a YouTuber, well, YouTube didn't exist, but he would have lost all his hair in that one moment, right? Because he didn't know what career I could follow. So I think people growing up now, growing up in a wonderful generation where the world is so much more open, there are so many more options, and how you're intelligent becomes that much more relevant. And I think the final message, finding your potential may well follow finding your intelligence. So knowing the way in which your intelligent is probably the pathway to find your potential. I'm not talking about success, I'm talking about finding your potential. There is this wonderful concept in psychology, it's called self-actualization. And self-actualization means I'm very comfortable with who I am, what I am, where I am, and how I am at this point in time. And that really is also the answer to finding our potential. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. Once again, thank you to Group Captain Vijay Kumar and MMA for the opportunity. Thank you. And thank you for being a lovely audience.
Thank you. I think many of you would have read the students' Maslow's theory, it's very clearly explained, go read it, not read it. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we all become more wiser in terms of how to use your brain, how to really develop it. So what one way easily developing and do well is come and attend all MMA events. And I can tell you it will do a lot of good. We do a session only on reading actually, how to read a good book, and we'll tell you how much to do that. It really helps a lot, and I really urge upon you, especially students, tell your friends and colleagues, come and attend those events, do a lot of good. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Krishnamoorthy and Vivek and Ayushi. Great evening. I request Meera, please join us, and maybe it's all forward. It's all the children made CSR. Come. Come on, sir.
Thank you very much. Really.
Cool. Yes, I will.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Yes. I thought something different from earlier.
Enjoy. All the best.
Very sweet. Lovely.